Hello, everyone. I'm very honored and happy to be here today in this amazing venue. And today I'm going to talk about my personal experience, and I'm going to give you some advice which is not only valid and valuable for women in here, but for everybody who is in here. Right now, I work as a business developer of an Italian marketing agency. I work in business development, in marketing, and I have very strong expertise in kids and entertainment brands. If you've seen some campaigns in retail like erasers in Peterочка with Marvel characters or Harry Potter in Lenta, that's what I do. That's basically what I create and what I sell to Russian retailers. So I'm going to go through some slides which are just very general advices on how it's better to shape up your career if you're planning to develop yourself in any business area. But I'll start by asking, why are we talking about female career, as it's something different? Why are we not just talking about general career? Well, women in Russia were given right to work on the same level as men quite a while ago, but overall in the world, women had to fight for their right to work. And in Russia and in many foreign countries for a very long time, women were seen like assistant jobs, like secretaries, like someone who can be supportive, who can be a great back office, but never in the front line. And right now we are in the power to change that, and I'm happy to see many faces here who I'm sure are going to be in the front line of different business areas and are not going to be held on second roles just because of their gender. So my first advice, and if you're going to take away just one thing from my presentation, I hope it's that. This is the abbreviation SMART, which you can meet lots of time in training courses, in sales courses. This is abbreviation for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. And this is exactly how you should think about your career and your next steps in life. When you're saying, I want to earn more, this is not actually a goal. If you want to go forward, you have to develop your goals for a year, 5 years, 10 years. And of course, we now live in a very turbulent society, and it's very hard to plan for 10 years. And it's okay if you revise your plans all the time, if you change them, it's absolutely fine. But you need at least to have a vision of where you're going to. And when you plan this vision, when you visualize, you have to do it in a smart way. What does it mean? If I say myself, I want to learn how to swim. Is that a goal? No. Because if I can float on water a little bit, that's swimming already. Does that achieve what I want? It doesn't. So if I want to plan smart, I would tell to myself, in 6 months, I want to be able to swim 500 meters, keeping up to the speed I want, and being quite technical in the way I do it. So I have to check all these 5 pieces of the word SMART to understand if I'm planning correctly. And this is exactly how, for instance, sales plans in big companies are established. You have to have timing, and you have to be very specific to achieve at least part of your goal. The next slide. Yes. The next slide is also a very tough thing I learned the hard way, that you always have to be prepared. No matter where you're going, business meeting, presentation, public speaking session, you have to spend at least some time to do your homework, to do your preparation. Because if you're going to a meeting and you're unprepared, you're preparing your own failure. Every time, if it's a business meeting with a client, if it's an internal meeting, at least have a look at the agenda. Remember, maybe you have to do something for this meeting. Spend 3-4 minutes just to go through what you're going to be talking. And this is believe me, going to change completely the way you are seen by your colleagues, by your seniors, and by business partners. I've been coming to meetings unprepared for a while, so I did learn it the hard way. If you're not prepared, sometimes it's better to cancel and not to go, instead of coming and being like, I have to check. So preparation is the key to a successful meeting or to a successful anything, basically. Next thing I wanted to talk about, as I said before, for a very long time, women were seen as supportive role at work, and the part of the work we did was the downside of the iceberg. It's the part that no one sees, and this is why very often women were not visible with their results. And now it's very often when you come to a big meeting and you see there is a table in the middle and there are some places on the second rows, that there will be girls sitting automatically at the second rows. So we somehow restrain ourselves from going forward, we take a step back, we don't want to be too flashy, and this is something I want to point you not to do. If you want to be seen, if you want to be noticed, you always have to be visible and you have to speak out. And this is why for everyone who is doing client meetings, for everyone who is doing big meetings inside the company, I strongly recommend to take at least some training in public speaking. That changes a lot the way you communicate to the public, to your colleagues, and the way people listen to you, because for us it's very important to be seen and to be heard. The next part is also very important, especially for people working in technology, for people working in IT. You have to learn the professional language and understand who you talk to. Because, for instance, for me, the language changes a lot depending on who I meet. If I'm meeting commercial director, I would talk about KPIs, I would talk about financials, I would talk very specifically about results. If I'm meeting marketing team, I would talk about target audiences, I would talk about changing demographics. This is something you should also learn to do. You need to understand what is the professional language common in your company, in your business area, and you have to implement it in the way you speak. Because, for instance, when you come to a job interview, and you use 3-4 correct words, this automatically means you understand the business situation, you understand where you're going, you understand what you're going to do. And sometimes, and it's very sad to see, when people working, for instance, as business analytics, as young marketing managers, they come to an interview, and you understand they have the background, you understand they have some experience, but they use completely wrong wording, and it's automatical non-fit. So, for instance, if you're going to have an interview in a new company, the very important thing to do is to go to their website, for instance, and check their values. All big companies have big values. They are communicating to the world. Check it and be ready to use it, because this shows that you, first, you prepare, and second, you speak the same language, you know what you're talking about. This is also regarding more soft skills and communication. When you are in a new, unfamiliar company, when you join a new group, when you join a new department, it's very important to fit in. And again, we as women, we're very good at making friends, we're good at communicating. We should use that strength to build up our careers. It's not only regarding getting to know the habits of the group or going together with people to lunch. It also concerns a lot the way you look, your outfit. It actually might be very important, because depending, and again, on the group where you are, you might a little bit adjust the way you look. Because, for instance, if you're working with tough business development guys who are all 40 plus and they're all wearing costumes every day, you might try to be a little bit more business-oriented, business-looking, just to fit in better. There is a great cartoon about this. I wanted to show it, but it won't fit into timing. It's called Plur, and it's about a company called something like Bro Firm, where all the guys are big and tough and wear black costumes. And there's a newcomer who comes to work, and she's an actual like puffy pink round. And she doesn't fit in because she's soft, she's not like them. And then she changes to adjust to the situation. It's a great one. If you have time, please see it. It shows a lot about the business rules and the way we can adjust or not adjust to them. This is another very important thing. When you're changing jobs, or you're finding your first job, or you're going for internship, you should always ask for more than they're ready to give you from the very beginning. Because it's proven by many researchers, generally women ask for less money. We are afraid to ask for big salaries. And that's really a huge problem. In Russia, you know, the pay gap between men and women officially is 30%. So whatever number you have in mind, multiply it by 2 and go with it. Because when you ask a lot, it means you value yourself, that's one thing. And the second thing is when the company doesn't have the actual budget, the money to pay for this position, you can negotiate something else. And it's also very important. These things you usually don't think about from the beginning, like trainings, like time off to study, like good medical insurance for you and your family. This is all the things you can negotiate if the company is interested and you're asking for big salary from the very beginning. The last job I took, I raised the initial offer they sent me twice. And I was so scared to do that, but I did it and I got it. So this is something you have to be it's hard to be aggressive, but this is the point where you have to be a little bit aggressive. You have to show that you know your value and you have to negotiate for the best condition. Because it's always easier to get good condition when you're entering the company than to get the raise from the inside. It's always easier to negotiate from the entrance. So please be brave, please be a little bit more aggressive than you're used to and ask for more. Don't let them pay you less. Another very important thing, you have to brand yourself. So from the very beginning of your career, you can have a small portfolio of the things you did, the projects you were involved with, and you have to build yourself like Coca-Cola is building the brand, right? You have to know what values, what's good about you, what's strong about you, and you have to communicate it to the world. And another quite important thing I wanted to mention, which is important especially for girls, generally in Russia when women get married, they take their husband's surname. If you decide to do that, please inform all your business contacts about it, please, because it's crazy when you get a letter from a person you don't know, and then you realize you worked together for 2 years and you had some projects together, but you discarded the letter because you had no idea because of the new surname. So it's very important for people to know who you are. If you're changing your name, please let people know about it, because your name is something very important. It's something people are going to remember you for. And again, try to always celebrate your success. If you were involved in a big project, if you were had a part-time job in a big company, always put it into your portfolio. This is very important. The way you write it down, the way you communicate it to other people is very important. For instance, when I was working in the Walt Disney Company, I was franchise manager for key brands like Marvel, Star Wars, and Disney Princess. It's very long, no one gets it. When I come and I talk to people who don't know me, when I talk to a new employer, I say, I relaunched Star Wars in Russia. Find a really cool naming for the things you did. Think about it, give it some thought before you go to an interview. It's very important to make a shiny statement about yourself, which proves you're a successful individual and you're ready to move. And there are some things I suggest you avoid. It's not a must. Everybody decides for herself. But there are some things I strictly recommend you to avoid, just not to put you in this position where people can discard you for being a girl. And the first thing would be, it's okay to be girly, it's okay to be feminine, but when you say, I don't understand because I'm a girl, that discards you as a professional. Like, if you're involving, it's okay to say, I don't understand because I'm a newcomer, I'm new to the industry, it's a new project. But when you're using your gender to let people treat you like something less, people are going to treat you like something else. So please try to avoid it as much as possible. Personal involvement at work. We spend at work sometimes up to 14, 15 hours a day. And yes, lots of affairs, lots of romance begins at work, but try to keep it outside work as much as possible. Like, I didn't follow this advice myself. The guy I'm married to, we used to work together for 4 years, but as soon as we understood that we have a relationship, I quit. Because when you bring relationship to work, it always hurts both work and relationships. So try to keep it out as much as possible. And another very important thing, especially again in Russian society, it's very often when you come to interview, the question you hear from HR would be, are you planning kids anytime soon? And if you have kids, it can be, are you going to take a lot of sick leaves because you have kids and you need to be with them? Well, first thing is that they're not actually allowed to ask you these questions. This is personal life and people should not get into that. The answer I came up with personally, and which I like a lot, is that my family is what motivates me to work. My family drives me, it doesn't stop me, it makes me stronger. All the questions like, are you planning to get pregnant anytime soon? Just change the subject. This is too personal and they should not be asking you these things. I know that it's very complicated for especially young girls, young recently married girls, but you should avoid this as much as possible, because as soon as they drive you into the conversation of you having kids, it's again, they're not treating you as a professional, they're treating you as just a girl who wants to get money while she's having kids. So try to stay away from personal questions at the interview as much as possible. And the last thing I want to stress is I've heard a lot that working with women, working in a female collective is terrible. It's like pile of snakes trying all to poison each other, and it's very bad, it's, oh my God, so terrible. But this is actually not true. And this is in our power for me, for all of you here, to change this perspective by supporting other young professionals, but not trying to show how grown up and how cool and how all together with the big boys you are, by supporting the young girls who come to work with you, by sharing your experience, by mentoring and finding your maybe male or female mentor, whoever you prefer, and by taking care about people around you, because this is how we girls get our rights, and this is how we should roll. Thank you. That's it from my side.
Thanks a lot, Anna, for your powerful speech. Guys, do you remember that each speaker will award the most interesting question? So, do you fill in your question via website Slido, or maybe do we have any volunteers who wants to speak up?
Mm-hmm. Okay. The first question is, according to statistic, male outnumber female. What is the way to ruin this? Outnumber meaning in business? In IT sphere, we don't need to ruin it, we need to even our number. And I think that creating communities like this one, who show girls their way and who support young girls in maybe not the most traditionally female business, is the way to go. And also, I think it's very important for us to cooperate and to work not against each other, but to work with each other to build a more female-friendly community. Can you unlock? Thank you. Mm-hmm. Sure.
Hello, thank you so much for your motivation. It's really very important for me, and I want to share with you my personal experience, and I really want to know your advice. Very recently, I was a girl in the top management of not a small company, quite big company, and I was in the top management board, and I faced a very serious problem. The people, men who were around me, they did not take me seriously, and they did not appreciate the things I did. They did not see the abilities and possibilities which I have, and the things which I can do for the company. So I want your advice how to tackle with this problem, how to make the men around you to appreciate you and to see your success and to understand that you can do a lot for a company. Thank you.
It's a great question, and it's not that I don't face these problems around me as well. And I think the first way is to do what you do already, to work, to be strong and to show results. And the second thing is to make sure they around see your results. So when you feel you're discarded and you're not treated seriously, a good way would be to go to your supervisor, to go to your senior manager and tell, look, this is my track record for the last 2 years. I did these projects where they were all successful, and I still feel that people around don't appreciate me. Tell me, how do we change that together? Make him part of the process and part of the problem. Because for now, it's just your own problem, and you have to make it wider. You have to make it a problem for him, because if a worker who does perfect job is not appreciated, it's the problem of the management.
We have one more question. Is it possible to keep your identity and still fit in without changing yourself to whatever standards the company has?
It's a very, very complicated question. When you're coming to a company, when you're coming to a new environment around you, you automatically fit in to some point. And this is only your decision, which point you choose. Like, how much do you want to fit in and how much do you want to keep your identity. It's a balance every one of us finds herself, and it's something we'll work on. And sometimes, and it's again okay, there are these cases when the corporate culture in a new place where you come is so different that you leave because of the corporate culture. And that's okay to do. If you're unhappy because of the environment every day, it's okay to leave and this is probably what you should do. But the balance is something you're looking for yourself, and you should find yourself.
We have one more question. Do you have any advice on fighting imposter syndrome?
I should think about it. Maybe if you find me later, we can discuss. I don't have an answer immediately.
Sure. And one more question. Are there any specific character traits women should develop to become successful?
Yes. The character traits is being very straightforward and being very brave, because most of us, lots of us, were raised to be not to bother other people, to be very to yourself, not to show yourself too much. And to become successful, you have to be loud, you have to be seen, and you need that courage to go and become more than you are right now. So this is really something we all need to work on and develop inside.